This is the most missed wrestler in recent history. And I happen to be the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. You're listening to me right now on InYourHeadOnline.com, because you know where the action's at.
All right, we're back, and we're joined by Jerry Lynn. Welcome to In Your Head.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Let's let everybody know. Check out UWFUSA.com. There's some upcoming shows. One this Friday. It's in Mooresville, North Carolina. You're going to be taking on Raven.
Yeah, what Hermie likes to do is book matches that no one else has ever booked. And this will be a first time. I don't know how long Raven's been wrestling, but this is my 19th year, but this is the first time we'll be in the ring facing each other in a match. So I got to hand it to Hermie. He's the first one to come up with it.
So. Yeah, I was actually trying to think of any other times I saw you guys wrestle, and you guys have been in like so many of the same promotions, but I don't remember if you guys ever wrestled.
Yeah, the only time we were ever in the ring together was in Global when I was wrestling the Lightning Kid, and he did a run-in, but that was about it. We've never wrestled each other. So
I used to be a big fan of Global, actually, so watch that every day after school. Yeah, your stuff with the Lightning Kid, that was, you surprised like people still talk about that?
Yeah, I'm surprised, by how much it comes up. But a lot of them say, when I was little, I'd watch you on ESPN. I'm like, God, I feel old now.
Well, I was in high school, so it wasn't like I wasn't coming home from like kindergarten or anything.
All right. And then the second night, I'm in a three-way with Raven and D'Lo Brown.
And that one's in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes, at the Boys and Girls Club. So it should be... Hermie always puts on some good shows. And the first night, he's got James Storm and Jackie Moore against Chris Harris and Gail Kim. And James Storm and Chris Harris got a, pretty heated up feud going. And I don't know if you've seen Gail Kim and Jackie Moore go at it, but I wouldn't even want to get in the ring with those two. So it's going to be interesting. And then you got first night we got Rikishi also there. Him and D'Lo Brown, I believe, are taking on Diamonds in the Rough, Felix Skipper and David Young. And then they got Team Maction with some good upcoming young guys, high flyers, going against Steve Carino and C.W. Anderson. So it's going to be a good show. And then they got Dustin Rhodes. And I don't know of any matches lined up yet on the second night, but Hermie always lines up some good matches and good shows for the fans.
Do you enjoy working for Hermie Sadler?
I love it. I think so far I've been on just about every show. I love working for him.
How's D'Lo doing nowadays?
There you go.
Pardon?
How's D'Lo doing nowadays?
Who?
D'Lo Brown.
Oh, D'Lo? Last time I saw him, he was doing good. He's part owner of a arena football league.
Really?
The Stallions, I believe they're called. So he's doing really good.
Not doing too bad for himself then.
No, he's keeping pretty busy.
It's better than an XFL league. We got Goosey here on the line. Who is this?
This is Goosey.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said Goosey.
Yeah, you're kind of new to that, bro.
Yeah, I know. I used to just ask who they are.
I have two questions.
Okay.
All right. The first question is, do you ever think you would be able to wrestle again after you tore your patella?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll never quit unless it's a severe career-ending one, like if I'm a quadriplegic or a paraplegic or something. I'll keep on plugging away. No matter how much so many different promotions try, they'll never make me quit.
And what was the other question?
What was it like working with Chris Candido?
Chris Candido was always a blast wrestling him. I mean, he was unpredictable and I don't know. He was just, one of the nicest guys and the funniest guys. It was just never a dull moment being around Chris. And that's one of the greatest things, great things I loved about ECW was Chris. And he was actually my first match in ECW.
What do you think about the new ECW?
Oh, God. It's just too bad that I think they're just intent on killing the legacy of the old ECW. I don't know what to think. It's just too bad they're just taking it and destroying it.
Well, it is, I actually thought both the one-night stand shows were really good, and all the crowd was really into them, and instead of using pretty much like that same formula, it seems like it's completely different from what people want to see.
Right. And, you know, like the old fans were turned off really fast because it wasn't even close to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just another avenue to send WWE talent when they couldn't figure out what to do with them on Raw or SmackDown.
There was like rumors on the internet that you were going to wrestle RVD at one of those. Was there any truth to any of those? Like, were you in talks to do that?
No.
Is this something
the first time they contacted me, Paul and Tommy contacted me. They wanted me to wrestle Lance Storm and take Candido's place. But at the time I was under contract with TNA, and so it was impossible to make happen.
Would you have liked to done that? Wrestle RVD or wrestle Lance Storm again?
Oh, of course. I'd love to. Who knows? Maybe someday down the road it'll happen.
Right. Do you have anything else, Goosey?
No. Thanks for answering my questions.
Thanks for calling in, man. Jason, you're on air with Jerry Lynn. You got a question?
I have two, if that's okay.
Sure.
My first question is, back when you were working in Global, when you were there, was there any thoughts going in mind that this was really going to be your first big break in the business and that people are going to be remembering these matches you had years down the line?
No, not really. Because the year I was living in Minneapolis, the year before, well, I'd never moved away. And the winter before, I moved down to Nashville so I could work for the USWA in Memphis. And actually, Eddie Gilbert, I mailed tape down there and a resume, and Eddie Gilbert saw it, and he's the one who brought me in, which to me was one of the biggest compliments I could ever have because he was one of my favorites. And then after that stint in Memphis, I moved back to Minneapolis, and then the next winter, the Global started up, and Eddie was working there, and so he wanted to bring me in there, so I moved back to Memphis because they were using a lot of Tennessee wrestlers, and every weekend we'd drive from Nashville to Dallas and do TV and head back. But to me, it was just, you know, I didn't look at it as, finally my big break and I've made it, because I feel like I still only know a drop in the bucket, and I've got so much more to learn and that I want to learn. So I don't know if I'll ever make it to where I really want to be, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you have something else, Jason?
Yeah, this question has to do with probably one of my favorite all-time ECW moments, but what was going through your head when you decided to write "die" on your chest in Steve Corino's blood?
Well, that match really wasn't built up. It wasn't a big heated-up feud or anything, and it really didn't have any meaning to me. It felt like it was time filler. So I always think of what can I do to make this match memorable? And I thought, well, Corino always bleeds like a stuck pig. I thought, what if, when the time comes for a little fire, I just do a little war paint. And then I just kept on thinking, and it just sort of evolved into writing "die" on my stomach. So it was coming up with something for a match with no build to make it memorable to the fans.
It's probably Jason.
I remember.
Oh, you going? Go on, man.
Thank you.
No, you go on. What were you going to say?
Huh?
What were you going to say?
Oh, I just wanted to let him know that I remembered it. It's one of those things that still sticks with me as an ECW moment, and he probably always will.
Oh, good. I was surprised after that how many fans would show up at all the shows with their shirts off with "die" written on their stomach.
And you were just hoping it was because they remembered that. It wasn't just like their usual look.
Yeah.
What do you think about Steve recently announcing that he's probably going to retire soon?
Well, I mean, it's too bad. He's a tremendous talent. But, if it I always said if it comes to the point where it's not fun anymore, why do it?
Mm-hmm.
Because why? This is the first job I've had where I wake up every day and I look forward to going to work. And I can't tell you how many different jobs where, every morning you wake up and you're like, God, I don't want to go to work today. And that's no way to live. So when it gets to the point where you're just not looking forward to it anymore, why do it?
Mm-hmm. You think he'll stay part of the wrestling business somehow, even if he doesn't keep wrestling in the ring?
That's hard to say.
And somebody would have to ask.
You're going to have to ask him that.
Right. We get another caller here. We get Chris.
Yeah.
You're on with Jerry Lynn. You got a question?
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, I was wondering, what did you think of the Invasion storyline when you were in the WWF, and would you like to have been a part of it more?
At first, I was kind of insulted, but then when I really thought about it, I wouldn't even want to have been involved in it because there was no way Vince was going to put over an ECW or a WCW wrestler over a WWF wrestler. So the thing was doomed from the start because he'll never have something outdo his baby, which is the WWF, well then, but WWE now. So at first I was, it was insulting, but after I thought about it, I didn't even want to be involved in it.
Do you think that's smart for business, not to put over like some guys like they came in from another company over your guys, or if they're under contract to you now, it shouldn't really matter?
Well, look at all of his top guys. It's all WWE created guys.
Mm-hmm.
So except for maybe just a couple exceptions like Booker or Benoit or Eddie Guerrero, but otherwise, most of them, they're all WWE created, and it's, look at the company. They're making money hand over fist, so I guess don't fix what ain't broke.
Right. Did you have anything else, Chris?
Yeah, I was wondering, what were the dying days of ECW like? The locker room morale?
It was pretty low. It was pretty low, but it was something, it was something we wanted to keep alive. We took pride in it and pride in our work and what we'd built, so we still went out there and busted our butts and put on a hell of a show. But the morale was pretty low. And, it was pretty sad because there were guys who were getting their cars repossessed and getting evicted because half the time the paychecks weren't there.
Did you ever get all your payment from TNA? I mean, from ECW?
No. Once they went bankrupt, we were all screwed.
Yeah. Did Paul Heyman ever apologize or anything when you were in WWE?
No. I don't even know. No apology. But, there was a lot of bad blood there. Probably mostly on my part. I was pretty filled with hate, but eventually finally patched it up because there's no way I was going to go through life with that much hate burning inside me. So live and learn,
Well, thanks for calling in, Chris.
Thanks. It was an honor to talk to you, Jerry.
Oh, thank you.
We got LTNA fan here from Portugal.
Hello.
Hello, you're on there with Jerry Lynn. You got a question?
Yeah, I got two quick questions for Jerry. First of all, it's a pleasure to have you here, in your head. My first question is, it's kind of a personal question. You've been here in Portugal, you have I think was 2 shows in 2 cities. What do you thought of Portugal, performing here?
I loved it. I mean, it was great going over. It's great going overseas, period, because a lot of the wrestling fans are still fans. And, you'll hit certain venues or cities in the States where you're wrestling in front of a bunch of critics. They're not even there to have a good time. They just sit there with their arms folded and go, okay, impress us. And that's no fun. Man, when I have time off and I go to an indie show, I'll yell and scream and, have fun.
Yeah.
Still, I'll always be a fan. But it's always, I'm not saying every crowd's like that. There's still, a lot of fans out there and stuff. But overseas, they don't get to see it as much, so they're really starving for it. So they're there and they're having a great time.
I watched you there. It was a great match that you had with Brother Runt, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. A second question about many people when they think about you, when they think about Jerry Lynn, they think about your match with the RVD on ECW. You think when you look back other matches that you had, do you think it's not your best match? It wasn't your best match. You have other matches that should be considered the best Jerry Lynn match of all time.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
He's saying that a lot of people look back at your match with RVD as being your best match, Do you agree with that, or do you think you've had better matches?
That's a
I
simple.
can't really pick a best match. A lot of people don't realize RVD and I wrestled around the loop on house shows for, God, it seemed like almost a year. We were practically married. So we didn't just wrestle on the pay-per-views. And on those house shows, neither one of us was going to let up. So all them house shows were like pay-per-view matches. So there was, and I think one of my best matches, or one of our best matches, RVD and I, was at the ECW arena when middle of the match I got put through a table, and there I was walking out, and then I turned around and came back, and the fans were just blowing the roof off the place, and that was, I think, one of our best matches. But I can't really pick a Jerry Lynn best match because every match is different, and there's so many different guys out there that are great wrestlers that I've wrestled. Like, I mean, I've wrestled, well, you know, I always like the matches with Lance Storm, just incredible, Chris Candido, Mikey Whipwreck. I mean, there's so many great wrestlers out there. And then even on the indies, you know, I've had some great matches on the indies with Rhino, CM Punk, I'm trying to think, Rey Mysterio. There's so many to name. Mm-hmm. So I can't really pick a best Jerry Lynn match, especially when you always have room for improvement. And I really look forward to wrestling RVD again someday because of everything I've learned since we've wrestled each other. I know we could have a better match.
Mm-hmm. Then this Friday you'll be wrestling Raven, who you've never wrestled before. And remember, once you get tickets, you go to UWFUSA.com. That's going to be in Mooresville, North Carolina. What are you saying, Incher?
Speaking of great matches, I just want to know, are you ever going to come back and take your title from El Drunko in IWA East Coast?
I hope so. I hope they have me back. I haven't heard yet, so I like going there and wrestling there, so I really look forward to going back there.
Would that go up in the best matches list?
No. that would probably be one of the oddest matches.
Right. Maybe one of the funnest, or just we'll stick with oddest.
It was probably one of the more confusing matches.
Well, you got the rock bottom in, so.
I gotta say, it's the first and only match where in the middle of the match I drank a whole beer, so. I didn't even let it pour down my chest. I drank that whole beer.
Thanks for calling in, LTNA fan.
Okay, bye.
What kind of style do you prefer to wrestle? Do you prefer to do like the high flying stuff, or do you like to do a slower paced match once in a while?
I like to just go out there and wrestle. I don't, you know, what I always like to do is incorporate a little bit of everything. Because years ago, X-Pac and I, we'd get together every day and sit and watch tapes of Japan, Mexico, whatever we could find. And I think we just sort of incorporated a little bit of every style and mixed it all together and came up with what we were doing, which I think is basically the X Division. I think we created that years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, that style. But I just like to go out and wrestle. I'm not a ninja. I'm not a Chinese acrobat. I'm a wrestler. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is nowadays you see a lot of ninjas and Chinese acrobats. No one goes out there and actually wrestles.
Yeah.
You know, it's still wrestling. Go out there and wrestle.
We get another call here. Who is this?
This is Spec Son. How you doing, Jerry?
Hey, Spec Son. You're on with Jerry Lynn. You got a question?
Yes. Hello, Jerry.
Hi.
I have one question for you. What were the positive experiences, if any, did you take away from your stint as JL in WCW?
There wasn't very many, but the one would be I got to wrestle Ric Flair. I'm trying to think if that was it. And I got to wrestle in a six-man with Flair, Arn Anderson, and Brian Pillman. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, there wasn't too many. Actually, you know what? I guess one of the high points too is, and this is going to sound weird, but being in the ring and wrestling against Barbarian and Meng.
Okay.
Why would that be a highlight?
Because they're two of the biggest badasses on the planet.
Right, okay.
And I got out alive.
No writing die on the chest for that one.
There's no chance of ever seeing a Mr. JL return.
No, I sold that years ago.
Speaking of Ric Flair, also on the show this Friday, they're going to have a tribute to Ric Flair and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. That's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Were those two guys that you inspired you to be a wrestler?
I can't really pick any person who inspired me to be a wrestler. I just sort of fell into it, I guess, because I started watching wrestling when I was 6. And since everyone knows my age, I'll say when that was, 1969. And so I was always a fan and always will be. Since the first time I saw it, I was hooked. But I never, ever thought about doing it because back then it was still a match for big guys. I mean, they were just giants. Even the smaller guys were bigger than most of the guys nowadays.
Right.
And so I never thought about it. And then one day, just happened to meet a wrestler, and it was the old Russian gimmick in AWA, the Soldat Ustinov.
Right.
And so went to go watch him wrestle on some indie show at a ballroom. And after seeing some of the other matches, I thought, man, my brother and I beat each other up better than this. So I found out about, training camps and stuff, because there wasn't a lot of schools back then, popping up everywhere. It was still kind of a protected business. And I knew right away that I wasn't even ready, because I was probably 145 pounds soaking wet. So I trained for a couple of years and didn't even really think about, taking it too seriously about pursuing it. But I, started training and just like training and kept on training, and was working one day. I had a job laying telephone cable underground, and one of the guys I was working with found out about Bragg Reagan's camp up in Hamel, Minnesota, and he was going to go through it. And he asked me if I'd want to, and I thought, oh, sure, why not give it a try and see what happens? And so we went through camp, and that's how it all started. But it wasn't, it wasn't easy, I'll tell you that. Brad really run us through the ringer.
Would you ever want to do that, train younger guys?
I wouldn't mind, yeah, I would, but it's hard, it's hard. It's amazing how many people want to be wrestlers but don't have money to be trained.
Right.
So, I didn't at the time either. I went and took out a loan when I went through camp. But
did you have anything else, Specs, on?
Actually, I do. My second question concerns more of the people that are the most inspirational for your career. Obviously, you've traveled throughout the entire world and you've experienced several things, a lot of success in various areas. But who would you consider to be, and I'm speaking of a wrestler, as the most inspirational person to the enhancement of your career?
Wow. That's hard to pick. As far as just someone who really, oh boy, this is tough. I'd have inspirational to my career.
Wouldn't be El Drunko.
No. Actually, boy, I had to talk to him because he was doing much crazy stuff. No, but I would say I couldn't pick one particular person because there's so many people I've learned from. When I started out up in Minnesota, I was on quite a few road trips with Baron von Raschke and learned a lot from him. And, well, as far as being inspirational, I guess I always just loved watching Eddie Gilbert, Ricky Morton. Just, I've learned so much from Terry Taylor. He's helped me tremendously. Trying to think who else. Ray the Crippler Stevens. I got to sit down and talk with him for a whole day and have some beers with him and barbecue before he passed away. But learned a lot from Ray Stevens. There's just so many I can name.
Now you mentioned, some guys that were inspirational to you and like legends when you were breaking in, and I assume you were always really showed all those guys a lot of respect. Do the wrestlers now have that same attitude? Do you see, like when you're on the indie scenes, some of the younger guys
Some do,
like
some
the veterans?
don't. There's, some do, some don't. I mean, a lot do. It just depends on how they're broke in now.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's, it's sad, but there's a lot of wrestlers out there now who don't have a respect for the business. They don't have a respect for other wrestlers or anyone else. And when they're out there in the ring, it's all me, me, me. It's not about the show. Well, then you're going to have a crappy match every time.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's sad that there's just not a lot of respect for the business anymore and what it's really about. Everyone thinks it's about them, and it's not. It's about building a bigger house.
Thanks for calling in, Spec Son.
All right, thanks, Jack, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you calling in. We have another caller here as well. I think he's been on the line for a little while. Do you have a name?
Yeah, I'm Jason.
Hey, Jason. You're on here with Jerry Lynn.
Yeah, what's up, Jerry? I look forward to seeing you up here in Greensboro Saturday. I just want to know what's your overall view of the wrestling landscape now.
Of wrestling what?
The wrestling landscape.
Ouch, what was that?
Thanks for calling in, Jason.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here.
All right.
The wrestling landscape now it's becoming a real lost art form.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to, some of the guys who've been around for a while to try and keep it alive. And like I said earlier, you see out there now a lot of ninjas and Chinese acrobats, but you don't see a lot of wrestlers. And they forget it's still wrestling on the marquee. And so it's sad, but it's becoming a lost art form.
Okay. And what was the most important thing that you could have taken away from ECW while you were there?
Get the money.
Pay first, then the match.
Actually, the most important thing would be always keep it fun. And ECW, even though, it ended up bad financially, it was still the best time of my life, and I'd probably still do it all over again.
Okay. And my next question is, would you sort of kind of consider Ring of Honor the new ECW, the ECW the 2000s and up?
No, because they're not really like ECW.
Mm-hmm.
They're a different product, and I don't think anything will ever be the new ECW because it was, everyone, there's a lot of promotions out there trying to duplicate it, but it'll never happen because it was just the right time, the right people. I mean, we were all the wrestlers that didn't fit in anywhere else. We were like on Rudolph, they got the Island of Misfit Toys. We were the promotion of Misfit Wrestlers.
Okay.
And I don't think it'll ever happen again, which is sad, but I was just glad to be a part of it.
All right. And I heard you mention, you say that you look forward to having some more great matches with Rob Van Dam in the future. I just heard he recently turned down another contract extension with the WWE. And so would you welcome him with open arms to TNA if he came?
If he came to TNA?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'd have to talk business because I know that match would draw and they'd have to make it worth my while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, thanks for calling in, Jason.
All right.
Sorry for keeping it on hold for so long.
Oh, that's all right.
All right. You talked about it, a lot of places want to be the next ECW. What do you think about, so many companies run the ECW arena still? You think,
I think they're just hoping that they'll build what it once was.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just way too many companies running that same building now. I think it's just burnt out. You can't run, the same building over and over and over and have 6 or 8 shows in 1 month there. It's the same with a promotion that wants to try and run once every 2 weeks. If you can make it, great, more power to you. But it's hard to run the same building every 2 weeks. And if that's only just one promotion running it, you're more or less going to burn it out, especially if you don't have a local TV time slot to tell your stories and stuff.
Did you have a question from the board, Incher?
Actually, speaking of the ECW arena and everything, RBG, he has a question. He wants to know your thoughts on XPW and Rob Black.
Oh, I don't have any problems with Rob Black. You know, he gave me a job and gave me some paydays, and I had some fun while I was there, and I had some memorable matches, especially one with Johnny Storm from England. We had a hell of a match in Philly at the arena, actually. So it was a good time. It was an enjoyable experience.
I think one of our fans asked about him, didn't they, Incher?
Yeah, RBG. I didn't see the other question.
No. POS, who has a longer name, but we'll just call him POS. He wanted to know what you thought of Wonder Kid Johnny Storm.
I love wrestling him, and he's a great guy outside the ring. He's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. But we've had a few barn burners over the years, and one in I think it's Broxbourne, England, and then the one in Philly for XPW. So I really enjoy wrestling him.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a few times about a lot of people are ninjas and acrobats now. What advice would you give to like younger guys who do just like a lot of flips and everything?
Wrestle. Make it believable. Don't make it so ridiculous that it's that it could never happen if you were actually in a real in a real fight. Because you're not going to. I don't know. And granted, at the same time, it's showbiz, and you got to make it flashy, but still wrestling. Wrestle.
Mm-hmm. Board question, Incher?
T.C. Anderson, he wants to know how tough it was to try out for the NFL in comparison to wrestling.
I read something about that. I have never tried out for the NFL. And I was wondering where they came up with that.
Oh, man.
I never even played football in high school. I was always too small for that.
Did you ever play like any computer football, maybe? Big Madden fan?
Not a lot, a little bit. I'm more or less like first-person shooters. I just like senseless killing.
Excellent.
That's right up Incher's alley.
Uh-huh. Another one of our fans, he actually asked a question about Oro. He wants to know what your favorite GWAR song is.
I don't have a favorite. I don't think I have a favorite.
I actually dedicated all the music to Lynn tonight. It's a GWAR night tonight.
Awesome.
Did you ever think about
GWAR live?
No, I haven't. Have you been there?
You've got to. Just once.
I've had some friends.
Just for the show, not for the music. Even if you don't like the music, I guarantee you will be thoroughly entertained.
You'll come out covered in fake blood and other bodily
fluids.
Bodily fluids. All fake, hopefully. At least they tell you it's fake.
Have you ever thought about incorporating any type of GWAR gimmick into the ring, even for like a one-time deal?
Actually, no. I've always thought about. I've always trying to come up with an idea for a new gimmick, something more visual for TV and stuff to catch people's attention when they're channel surfing. So you never know, something might come up in the future.
Mm-hmm. Let everybody know again that you got 2 shows coming up for the UWF, both in North Carolina.
Yes, the first night it's at Mooresville at Lake Norman High School, and then Saturday night Greensboro at the Boys and Girls Club.
Right. And if you want to get the tickets, you go to uwfusa.com. Also have the links up on inyourheadonline.com. Anything you want to tell your fans out there?
Just thanks for all the support, and like I said, they can't make me quit yet. I'm going to be around for a long time. And I always say, down the road, even if I can't wrestle too well anymore, maybe I'll run around with a taped-up fork and start stabbing people.
There you go.
Incher does that, and he's not even a wrestler.
You want to believe all the static I get from the cops.
We really appreciate you coming on tonight.
All right, my pleasure.
Hey, this is Spike Dudley. You're listening to InYourHeadOnline.com. Stay extreme.